Okay, so thank you for being here today. I'd like to welcome Deb to the call, brand new, showing up. Thank you in her second day of the program. So, congratulations for being here. Thank you to everyone for being here today. We're going to get started by sharing wins. And we did something really amazing last week. We challenged every person on Tuesday's call to share a win, whether you come on and voice it. And remember, there's nothing big or small. Everything, it might be in an awareness. It might be how you responded to a child. It might be that you manifested $43,000 or $47,000, right? It might be, it can be anything, it's all, the more that we put energy into the good that's happening in the community, the more the good can grow. So take your time to write, and we'll take a few time to celebrate a few people to come on video. So if you're ready to share, take yourself off mute and let's see your beautiful face.
I'm gonna kick us off, guys.
Nice.
Yeah. I have two wins. One is just showing up for the 6 a.m. call. It's been really great with Shonda every day, and now we have Liliana and anybody else who wants to join the PST group. Even if you're on Eastern time and 9 a.m. works better for you, like come hop on. We don't care, right? So it's really been like I like having people to run with, and just knowing that like I need to be doing my studies. So when I come back on in 40 minutes, I have something to contribute. It really does help me. So that has been great. And also, I just looked at my bank account and I didn't realize how much I had been paying down on my credit cards just by paying the amount but not spending on them actually, gives you money. So who knew, right? So that was nice to see that the balance is going down and the available credit is going up. So there you go.
Well done. I love that. And I like how you're using the law of relativity, right? So you're noticing that difference and celebrating the credit that's available. It's really good. So remember, wherever you put your focus, that's going to grow. So you're focusing on using the right perspective there. Awesome, Carrie. I've heard such great feedback for the 6 a.m. club. So if, you haven't had a chance, even if you want to test it out to see if it resonates with you. I was on the Eastern time zone one today, so I pop in when I can throughout the week, depending on our Lead the Field group. And what incredible energy. There's something to say about a group of people studying and like taking a few minutes after to have a conversation about what you're learning. It really helps with awareness. We're noticing that in Lead the Field as well. So I acknowledge all of you that are part of it. And it's never too late. You can start. We have either 6 a.m. Eastern or 6 a.m. Pacific at the moment. So as Erin, I saw your message. So if one of those work for you, that's great. If not, we can host. Perhaps you can lead the one in your time zone. We just need you to have a Zoom account, and the rest I can explain how it works. Awesome.
Can I just say too, Danielle, on that note, I really like how everybody is on whatever lesson, like you don't change anything. And it really Liliana is on number 10. So it brought me back to, the attitude portion, right? And wherever Shonda is. So it's really cool to hear all of that, just so you guys know. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's good. And, just like it doesn't matter really where we are because the work, like it all flows together, right? So we can have awareness, like someone can have an aha around attitude, and whoever's on that call, I'm noticing like it's what I needed to hear this morning to help me with my attitude about a situation. Like nothing's a coincidence. Yeah, really great. Cool. Who else would like to unmute themselves?
I'd like to share.
Great, Kaylee.
Awesome. So I was finally able to get on a 6 a.m. call this morning. That was amazing. Such great energy to start my day. But that's not my win that I want to share today. So recently I've come to the realization. So I started TIR back in August. And one of the reasons why I started TIR was to grow my network marketing business. I was 6 months pregnant at the time, I think. So, focusing on building that income in so I could stay home with my little one. And I've come to the realization that actually TIR, when I started, had a whole different purpose for my life. I really think that this program, actually, I know this program it got me ready to be a mom, as crazy as that sounds. And I feel like dealing with things like, a curveball being thrown my way with my birth, and just how I kind of deal with the changes in my life and everything. Like TIR, I go back to this work so much in my day-to-day life with my son. And I just think it's so amazing, because that's not why I joined the program, but to see how it really like piles on in different aspects of your life. So I honestly feel like I'm like a really chill mom. Like I feel like I'm doing a great job, which I don't hear a lot of new moms say that. So I honestly really think that this program like changed my life. And now that I have that aspect of everything like is going amazing, I'm really ready to focus this work into my network marketing business to hit those goals that I had originally set up. But it can be so much for anyone at any time in their life. So I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to share.
Isn't that amazing? Can you hear her? Like she's smiling, a new mom with a baby right there, and she's smiling and staying in control. And I heard you say, Kaylee, this morning on the 6 a.m. call that you didn't use the excuse of being up multiple times to not wake up and do your studies, and you were there with less than 4 hours sleep. And I love it. Like I really love the energy that you're putting out, and that awareness that it does affect all areas of your life. I often say that we don't know why we said yes necessarily, right? When we said yes. That's great. Well, keep it up, because your energy is amazing. Well done. Yeah. Cool. And it's cool. It's really interesting to see how like the great things to come, I was reading a quote by Emily Cooey. It's just like each day gets better and better. I get better and better each day. And so as you're moving forward, it's just keeps growing for you. It's awesome. Great. Anyone else?
I'll share, Danielle.
Thank you, Shelley.
So my husband a little while ago had his license taken away just due to medical reasons, and he was supposed to get it back at a doctor's appointment last week, and he didn't. And he was a little bit down on that, and I just went back to his work and reminded him that like everything's happening for a reason. Just remember everything's happening for us. And he's like, yeah. And they ordered certain tests for him, and they were supposed to have to wait until like May to get in for him to have the test to be able to get his driver's license back. And this week we got a call. They had a cancellation, and he's getting in on Thursday for the one test. And then we just got another call today, and he's getting in February 14th for the other test. So I just, because I held the picture of it happening for us, and that it's all perfect. So it's all happening the way it's supposed to, and faster than they said it would. So
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see how it's in our response that makes all the difference, right? I want everyone to think about that. Like we can get a piece of news or something, and it may not be what we wanted, but it is in our response. It's like, are we able to stay in control and focus on what we want and have an understanding, or do we react? And so I like what you said is hold the image. So by holding the image, what you were able to do is hold your vibration then. Did you feel that?
Yeah, right. And I also like let it go after we had that conversation. I gave him lots of positive energy and support, but then afterwards it just almost like, I didn't want to say I forgot, but I just let it go. I wasn't worried about it. And that like just let it happen kind of thing. And just knowing that it's part of a bigger picture, because there's lawsuits and stuff involved because it was a car accident, and those records and those tests are going to probably help in the end. And the fact that they're having to order them now so that he can get his license back, like it's all, I can see it. but I'm just like allowing it to happen, and it will happen the way it's supposed to. So, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the opposite is force negates, right? So if you get on the call and like try to force those appointments, right? And this way, and I trusting and having faith that it's happening for you because of the bigger picture, like you said, like the outcome that you want in the court cases, right? So that you have full benefit. Yeah, that's great.
Right, exactly.
Well done. There's a lot to learn from that example for all of us.
I also just wanted to say how much I am loving the 90-day challenge too, and the perseverance that's coming out of it too. Like yesterday, just my day didn't go the way it was supposed to, and it was midnight and I hadn't moved yet, like done movement yet. And so I did yoga at midnight in the dark in my house, and just so that I could, and went and did my mirror work so I could check off the last few things for the day. And we're on day 5 now and just working through it all. So
Incredible.
yeah. And excited for Natasha, who hit day 10. So that was inspiring for me and reminded me next week I'll be on day 10 as well.
That's great. And wherever you are in the challenge, today can be day 1. Like there's no start or end. We're doing this together, and there's a momentum, and you'll see it pick up. And it's, we acknowledge all of you. It's interesting. What I've noticed is how good the mind is at telling me, like trying to get me to do things half-assed. Like the paradigm's strong, it really doesn't want us to win. So with the outside one, like, is outside like taking my dog out the back? Does that count? I'm like, can you stop? Right? It's like really notice what that little mind tells you to get you to do things not so like how, you committed to doing them. Really great. I love that persistence, Shelley. Amazing. So do we have everyone committed to writing their wins in the group? I see Sherry's waking up at 5 a.m. Amazing. She's doing the mindset movement. Okay, who else? We've got lots of you on the call. Dana, thank you. Sharing your win. Way to go. I saw you committed to the 90-day challenge. That's incredible. See the benefit. All right, so I'm going to ask all of you to take the time to type right now while I prep our lesson. So type your win and we'll capture them. Go, 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 go. Okay, so today's lesson is on auto-suggestion. And so, and it's actually perfect because it's very much in line with the 90-day challenge. It's also in line with what we were talking about last week around creating your plan. And I went through, all of these are recorded. So if anyone missed last week, I recommend that you go back. And they're all on YouTube or the back end of our website. Remember that we have the back end of the website and everything is there that you need. And if you need help, maybe Shelley, you can post the link in the chat for us. That would be awesome. So auto-suggestion. Auto-suggestion is a chapter in Think and Grow Rich. And in fact, it is your 3rd step towards riches. And it is an incredibly important chapter. And so today I wanted to bring it together. I'm not going to read from the book. You guys can read from that. I have a few points that I highlighted. I want to bring us back to why auto-suggestion is important, what it is, and why I've asked you to use the principle of auto-suggestion in the 90-day challenge. So I've asked you to use it around your visualization, so the repetition of your visualization, your goal, and your self-image, if you've noticed. So understanding the principle of auto-suggestion is key because it it really does open the mind up to why we use repetition in this program, why we know with mathematical certainty that those of you that study this every single day and repeat the program as designed will have the best success. And we see all this in the back end of the website. And it's no coincidence, right? When we look at how far people have got to their goals, it's usually in direct correlation to how, like, the energy they put into this principle and the consistency. So let's take a look. And it's my hope that I share this lesson with you, that I can, that you hear something that helps you to commit. Because once the principle on autosuggestion is properly understood, you'll see why that commitment piece and persistence is so important. So it must be understood. Now, let me tell you, no thought, okay, whether it's positive or negative, can go into your subconscious mind without using the principle of autosuggestion. So no thought, no idea, whether that's you earning $10,000 a month and that's your goal, you won't accept it unless you use the principle of autosuggestion. So merely creating the goal and writing it on a piece of paper won't do a lot of good. Okay, and that's why you can pick up a book, and you have in the past picked up a book and you haven't seen much change in your life, because no mere reading will move something into the subconscious mind. And it's the subconscious mind that has to have the information in order for us to manifest it, in order for it to move into form. And so how do we, so if reading isn't enough and studying isn't enough and listening isn't enough, what is it? It's the repetition with emotion. Okay, and it's through answering your questions, because they're personal to you. When you answer the questions in TIR, that's why it has you apply it to your life. Can you see it? Because what you're doing is you're thinking, you're reading, you're answering the questions, and you're getting emotionally involved, and you're bringing the material back to your life. And that's why this program is so magical, because Bob figured out, after studying and looking at why he gives this book to his friends, nothing happens. He gives them Lead the Field, nothing happens. So he studied why it made a difference for him, why it made a difference for his friend Joe, but didn't make a difference for Sarah over here. You see that? So he studied for 10 years the mind with amazing leaders, as well as his own personal experiences, to find out what made a difference. And so when we answer the questions, when you are using the principle of autosuggestion to repeat your goal, make sure you are repeating it with emotion. And the strongest emotion is faith. So it's the emotion of faith. What the hell does faith feel like? Like, this is really something to think about. Like, because would you have considered faith an emotion before? I know I didn't. So this is something to really think about. What is the emotion of faith, and how does that feel?
Danielle, can I say something? I watched, yesterday I watched a broadcast on Super Soul Sunday with an interview with Oprah and Maya Angelou. And she was brought to tears because she was so grateful that God had created her. And like, so I think it's still streaming on Facebook. So if you guys get a chance to watch it, and she was just so, she's like, it still humbles me every day that God created us in this image, and that, you know, we're made of the same things as mountains and stars. And I talked about this on the 6 a.m. study club too, because in my lesson, it was brought to my attention that it's like, I can create anything that I want. And so when you said, like, what does it feel like to have this emotion of faith? Like, she was brought to tears because she was just so happy that God created her and she can do anything. And it was just like, so if you can find it, it's the second episode, because there's two. Watch them both because they're amazing. But it was, yeah.
Incredible. And if you think about that, like, so what Shonda said is that she was brought to tears because she has this belief, this faith, this understanding that she can do anything, have anything, create anything, be anything. So check your own belief. Do you have that belief about yourself? And again, there's no, like, no one's better or right or wrong. It's, do you have that understanding about you? And so checking that for yourself so that you can understand where, and if you don't, that's a great indication of how can you write that into your self-image script? Like what statements can you then include in your description of who you are with your goal achieved? And I'm going to cover those 3 things that I asked you to repeat. That's a really good example, Shonda. Thank you. So faith is an emotion, and it's one for us to discover, like, what does it feel like when we have faith? And I was brainstorming and masterminding last week with Bob and the group of us in Inner Circle. We do it every Tuesday. And we were talking about the feeling when our goal is achieved, right? So we often say, like, you know, we have to go to that frequency, to that vibration of our goal achieved, and we have to discover it and become fused with that feeling in order to manifest our goal, right? So we've got to be it. We have to understand what our thoughts, feelings, and actions are, which is self-image and attitude, as the person with our goal achieved. And when we're first starting this work, we often hear that, oh, I'm so excited that I've achieved my goal. I'm like so happy, I'm excited. And what we were talking about last week is that that excitement that we feel like we're going to feel isn't actually truth. We feel it, like, think about this. Anytime when you've hit your goal, you might feel excitement for, like, it's fleeting. And so it's more of an emotion of faith that we experience. And so what I mean by that is, like, it's a confidence, it's a calmness, it's a knowingness, like an understanding of the laws and of this material, and how you got to your goal is because you're in harmony with these laws. Does this resonate? So this is the feeling and the emotion you want to bring in when you are using the principle of auto-suggestion in your studies. So when you're auto-suggesting your goal, auto-suggesting your self-image script, and auto-suggesting your future memory through visualization. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, like, the how in this, so I can answer your questions, but discover or even write out what that emotion of faith means to you, and keep practicing it and discovering it and sitting in it and taking action with, like, full 100% faith. Like, if you had faith, like full, like no questions asked, that you'll achieve your goal by the end of the week, what decisions would you be making Tuesday, Wednesday, right? They're different. And so we want to act with that full faith. So all ideas, and your goal is an idea, right? All ideas must come through the conscious mind to hit the subconscious mind. So you cannot go into the subconscious mind without an idea first going into the conscious mind. So if you see yourself as a stick person, every idea has to be accepted by the conscious mind in order to go into the subconscious mind. And this is this is why autosuggestion is so powerful, or even suggestion is powerful. And if you look at advertising is based on the principle of suggestion. And in fact, advertising became so powerful that there needed to be some laws around it, actually, because it was such a powerful, so the power of suggestion is so strong. And if we understand this, that it is so strong because as soon as you accept it here and get emotionally involved, it goes into your subconscious mind. And whatever you accept in your subconscious mind must move into form by law. This is the law of transmutation of energy. So an ideas, thoughts are in the ether. You take those thoughts, you create the idea in your conscious mind. It's either a positive or a negative idea. It can never be both at the same time. You get emotionally involved. It moves into your subconscious mind. Anything that's in the subconscious mind must move into form. So then the question is, are all ideas that I'm allowing into my subconscious mind serving me? Are all messages that I'm allowing into my subconscious mind serving me? No. No. And I would say that most of the people out there, 97% of the population, 95 that aren't winning, this is a big part of the problem, is that they're allowing these ideas to go into their mind. And this includes what they observe through their senses and allow it to influence their mind, right? They look at their bank account to make a decision. They hear how the economy shit to have them feel good or bad about their career. And so this is why we have things the way we do in society. But let's bring it back to ourselves. If we can ask ourselves, when we notice that we're getting emotionally involved with an idea, is this idea serving me? Does it move me closer to my goal? And if not, reject it. And one of my good friends, Catherine, who I went on the plane with, she has a habit of doing this to her nose. And I'd watch her and I was like, what is that? She's like, that's when I overhear people talking or someone says something to me that I don't want to accept. It's like her way of rejecting. She flicks it off her. And she noticed, she's a very good observer, she noticed that I say, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. So when I don't accept it, I'm like, uh-huh. And it's like, create something for yourself that you can just close your conscious mind, and see it as a lid. Because at any point you can choose to close it. Now what happens is most people aren't exercising this choice. And when you relax at the end of the day and you're sitting in front of the TV, maybe with a glass of wine or whatever, your subconscious mind goes, whoop, everything from the news goes right in. Same thing when we're around people that we're used to being around. Maybe it's our parents. What? Some of those ideas don't serve you. And we don't even know that we allowed it to go in. Right? And so then the real idea here, or what I got connected to, is that this is another reason why it has nothing to do with the economy, like our results have nothing to do with the economy. It's not because of him or her. It's all auto-suggestion. What we get in our lives are the ideas that we accept to allow to stay in our subconscious mind. Do you guys see this? Everything comes down to auto-suggestion. Because the mind operates by law. And you, me, we are an expression of that law. And the laws aren't man-made, so they can't be changed by man. And everything that we experience is governed by the suggestions that I put into my mind. Nothing can go in my mind if I don't choose it, right? And just because you're lazy, or maybe the people out there are lazy and they leave their subconscious mind open, it doesn't mean like you still are in control, right? And so everything I plant into my subconscious mind must move into form by law. And if everything originates in the mind, so I become what I think about, boom. I become what I think about. If everything has to originate in the mind, it's always inside. The outside physical world is an expression of this. This is really exciting. Because if we understand this principle of auto-suggestion, then this is why we're doing the 90-day challenge the way we are, because then we can control, then we gain our power back. You see this? And no longer are we just getting whatever, you know, we get because we don't really understand it, but we instead are in full control. At least we take responsibility. So if everything originates in the mind, we build the idea of what we want in the conscious mind. We become emotionally involved with that idea, move it into the subconscious mind. By accepting the idea, it goes right in. The truth. So let me go back here. You originate the thoughts, right? And though I want to say that you can also pick up thoughts in the ether. Have you ever walked into a room and maybe they're having like a really intense conversation and immediately you don't feel good? Yeah, that's you picking up thoughts from that. So we want to be aware that that is something that happens. Like we can pick up thoughts. It's also, and if you have any of that in your mind at the moment, like they attract, right? Like attracts like. So exercise that control and use your intellectual faculties to decide how you want to live your life. So take responsibility for what it is that you do want so that you can build the picture of that in your mind. And that's why we go back to goal. I'm just making sure everyone was on mute there. If you're not on mute, if you can do that, unless you have a question, then come on off. Okay, awesome. Okay, so let me just go back to what I had written for you guys. Yeah, so you're using your intellectual faculties, aren't you? This is lesson 5 in TIR, to create the picture of the life that you want. Also part of lesson 1 as you tap into your imagination. Check, like notice when you're living from the outside in rather than from the inside out. So when we're living from the outside in is when we feel we are allowing our outside circumstances to affect our thoughts, our feelings, and therefore our actions. And all great leaders across like everything from science to philosophy to religion say live from the inside out. They say go within, don't they? So go within for you to create the picture of what you want. Go within and tap into that imagination. Tap into your intuition. Really listen. And that's living from the inside out. And then you get to express what you want this way. And then what's happening then is we're in a different cycle, aren't we? And Bob explains this in one of the lessons, where when we live from the inside out, we are in control despite what's going on out here. None of that affects us. Now, do we still think about it and use our perception muscle? Yeah. I mean, you're going to deal with your circumstances. It's not to ignore, but it's to have you hold the image of what you want in your mind. And then that image, like Shelley was saying, you know, that image then has us think a certain way, which has us feel, which gives us a new action to take. And therefore we have a different result. When we're living from the outside in, we're constantly reacting, and that keeps getting the same. And so make sure that you're developing your intellectual faculties so that you can live from the inside out. And the stat I heard from Bob, this is from his lesson called the Prosperity Practice on the law, on the principle of autosuggestion. He says 97% of the population live outside in, and this is a low level of awareness. And so why we're in this material is to increase our awareness, right? And so he says to quit living through the senses. And as you do that in practice, it's practice. So do we go from 0 to perfect in one day? No, it's practice. It's a daily commitment. Then as we do that, we're going to be developing those higher faculties, staying in control. I wanted to touch on intuition. Intuition is a muscle that you can strengthen, and we all have it. It also allows us to tap into all the information that's already here. So I love thinking about this. I really want you to think about it. Like how to make this cell phone was already here, you know, like the Tesla, the science to make that car was already here. How to fly the airplane was already here. What happened was those people that discovered that knowledge, they got into harmony with that and were able to hear the solution to the problem. You see? So Edison, when he created the light bulb, he tapped into his intuition to get the knowledge. And he often explains that when there were interviews from with him that talks about that. And he'd often take naps, knowing that his subconscious mind, which is how you connect, can gather the information. So this goes for any of your goals. The how is already there, like the ideas, the plan. It's your job to discover what that is. So each one of us really wants to develop our intuition. I actually brought a quote that I wanted to share. This is from Einstein. He says, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. I want to read that again, okay? I'll put it in the chat as well. I put it in earlier. Isn't that good? Let me read this again as I put it in here for you. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors a servant and has forgotten the gift. As you work out your intuitive muscle, your intuition, and how you work it out is by using it. So if you, and one of the best ways that I have found to strengthen my muscle is when I think that like my mind or my intuition tells me like a thought that's something like Paul, or maybe it's with my sisters or someone close to me. This is how I first started to develop it. Is thinking or something's going on in their mind, I'll say it so I won't keep it to myself. And I'll just ask if I'm right. And the more times I'm right, it strengthens my intuition. It allows me to trust that feeling of what the intuition is. And I notice that the intuition is always there first, and then it's the paradigm. It's always there first. Another faculty that I'd love for you to develop in lesson 5 is your perception. Your perception. So use your perception to work yourself around your problems, your situations. Don't get hung up in the intellect, okay? Allow yourself to get connected to your universal mind, which is these faculties. This is something that's not taught in schools, right? And we've talked about this before, is we're only taught how to use one of the mental faculties, and that's memory. And we're graded on how good of a memory we have. Isn't that interesting? So the subconscious mind, let's go back to this, because this should bring us back to autosuggestion. The subconscious mind is like a garden, a fertile garden. And I picked up these little acorns. So your subconscious mind can only grow what's planted. So this is an acorn, which grows into what kind of tree? Anyone? Yeah, an oak tree. Great, Shelley. So so it can only grow into that. Right? It cannot, like I cannot plant this and expect a carrot. And that sounds funny, right? But this is what a lot of us are doing, is we're not consciously we're not planting the seeds of the goal. We're allowing the paradigm's weeds to grow, and we're expecting an oak tree, but we've planted carrots, or vice versa. Or we haven't weeded out the weeds, and so what we're getting is dandelions. See, the subconscious mind is a garden, and it cannot accept or reject a seed. Whatever is there, it's got to grow. It must grow it. And if you look at this acorn, what's interesting about the acorn, and Bob uses this is why I have the acorn, is that this acorn contains a pattern plan. It's been programmed, hasn't it, to grow into an oak tree. This acorn has been programmed to grow into an oak tree. So we know it's not the earth that makes the oak tree. So it's not the subconscious mind, because it's just the garden. It's the seed. And you also have been programmed. But what's unique about us as human beings, spiritual beings in this human body, is that we were given mental faculties. This acorn was not given the same mental faculties. It cannot think. Therefore, it cannot program itself. But we can. And although we were programmed through our paradigm, which is what's in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is automatically growing those weeds, those limiting beliefs, we were given the ability to reprogram our mind, to create the image of what we want, and then allow that to go into our subconscious mind. And how we get into our subconscious mind is through the principle of autosuggestion. And it's through the principle of autosuggestion, repetition, that we strengthen the seed we plant, and we remove the negative and limiting beliefs. Most people aren't thinking. And this is to me, was a shocking thing to hear when I first heard it. And I thought it was even a bit rude when he says 3% of people think, 2% think they think, and 95% would rather die than think. If you really think about this idea of thinking, you would agree that, and we can see it because we see 97% of the population moving in the wrong direction. And it's not good or bad. And it doesn't mean that anyone's better than anyone. It's just what you need to notice is that most likely the people that you're interacting with on your day-to-day aren't thinking either. And one of the reasons why the community and 6 a.m. Club are so important is to surround yourself with people that are thinking. And we know that they're not thinking because they wouldn't also say, text, email, the things that they do if they were thinking. I want you to think about this. We know people aren't thinking because of the way that they talk. They wouldn't, if they were, and they had the awareness that their thoughts become things, why would a person say, oh, this is so hard, I can't do this, or I can't afford it? Like, if we're really thinking, we wouldn't be saying those things, would we? And what happens is most people are auto-suggesting those kind of things because it's just part of the habitual way that society's brought us up. The amount of people that I overheard just being in a local grocery store talking about illness over the weekend was crazy. Complaining about how sick and da-da-da-da-da. I heard Bob say, like, if you aren't feeling the way you want to be feeling, don't talk about it to anyone unless you're talking to a doctor, because it doesn't serve you, and it definitely doesn't serve the person you're talking to. Same thing, right? So really think about this. So let's go back to autosuggestion so that we can, I want to take you through and how you autosuggest those 3 things and use this principle. I'm going to read you a couple of things here. We talked about the mere reading of words is of no consequence unless you mix emotion or feeling with your words. And the Emmy Cooley formula was day by day in every way I'm getting better and better. Day by day in every way I'm getting better and better. As an affirmation, they said, without mixing emotion and faith with your words, you will experience no desirable results. Your subconscious mind recognizes and acts upon only thoughts which have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. This is a fact of such importance as to warrant repetition in practically every chapter, because lack of understanding of this main principle is the main reason why the majority of people who try to apply the principle of autosuggestion get no desirable results. And then he goes on to say later in the chapter, he says, the method of attracting money or your goal described here does not depend on the law of averages. It works for every single person every time. He says the method plays no favorites. It will work for one person as effectively as it will for another. Where failure is experienced, it is the individual, not the method, which has failed. If you try and fail, make another effort, and still another until you succeed. And so when I like to use the word practice, because we're practicing this. So in the 90-day challenge, when you're bringing this idea of autosuggestion, you're thinking, okay, I'm doing this in faith and I'm feeling the emotion of faith. It's with a commitment that each day you are doing this better and better because of your study, because you're in this community, because you're in this material, and through this you're raising your awareness. You can have the faith that you are getting better and better and that you're practicing it. The 3 things that I've asked you to repeat in the 90-day challenge and use the principle of autosuggestion are visualization. So we're going to take time to do a guided visualization. And when you visualize, I want you to visualize a future memory with your goal achieved, something that can only happen when once you've achieved the goal. And I highly recommend you take something that gets you emotionally involved. So when you, that might mean bringing in your family, right? Like each one of you is going to be different with this, but be honest with yourself. Are you getting emotional when you're in that future memory? And if not, that's okay. Create a different one. Like ask yourself, what is important to me? Why do I want this? And even when you write your goal, I ask you, many of you heard me say, ask yourself why 7 times deep. When you write your goal, and you get connected to what you want, keep asking yourself. And I did this with Susanna on a call once where I kept asking her why. And by the time, probably about the 5th answer to why, so it was about why she wanted a certain amount of money, and it got into her son, Ethan, and there became a point where she was in tears, and the rest of us were in tears listening to her explain it. So ask yourself 7 times deep so that you can get that emotional connection, and then allow that to be a indication of where you could create your future memory. That can only happen when you've achieved your goal. So I want you to think about that right now, quickly. What is something that you can visualize when I take you through a guided visualization in a minute that is going to get you emotionally involved? Okay, so I'm going to guide you and not restrict you. So I want that to come from you. The second piece is the auto-suggestion of your goal. So if you've asked yourself why, then you can bring that why into the repetition of the goal. So I've asked you to repeat it to yourself in front of the mirror. And I'm doing that because when you do mirror work, when you close one eye and read your goal, close the other eye and read your goal for about 2.5 minutes each. You can only look in one eye at a time, and it allows you to connect with you. I've heard from people that this simple exercise of doing mirror work has been the hardest work that they've ever had to do, and a lot of people resist it. So take on the mirror work because it's the emotion we're looking for. That's why we ask you to do it in front of the mirror. The next piece is self-image. So using the principle of auto-suggestion with your self-image script. So self-image is part of lesson 6. And I've been getting the question, do I have to go all the way to lesson 6 to do my script? You don't have to. It can be useful for you to think about it, you know, to go there and listen to the lesson and then write out your self-image script so that you can repeat it in the 90-day challenge. What the self-image script is, it's really getting an idea of who you are with your goal achieved. So what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are the actions? Now that you've achieved this goal, who do you need to show up as now in order to achieve the goal? Because the purpose of your goal is to have you grow. And what I love about the script is that you bring in all areas of your life. So I write about who I am as a mom, who I am as a wife, who I am for you in this community, who I like, what impact I'm making in the world, all the other communities I'm involved with, what are my finances, what's my posture, what am I wearing, how do I say hello to people, how do I show up online, what are other people saying about me? Not that I care, but I want to like know, you know, what's the impact, what's my desired impact. You see, I even thought about it from another point of view, is like if the media were writing about me, or like a book review, like what would they be saying? You know, think it, just whatever intrigues you, you want to write about those angles. And then what's happening is you record it while you're in a high vibration. So I jumped up and down before I recorded mine. I like yell, I raise my voice, I lower it, I whisper, I like all this kind of emotion, because I want to be connected, and we know that emotion makes a big difference, right, through the repetition. And then when I listen to it, I notice that I'm immediately raised. So I'm raised to that vibration, and it really does carry me throughout the day. So we're asking you to use the principle of autosuggestion, making sure that you're open while you listen to it, right? One of the reasons why using your own voice is a good idea, or perhaps someone that you really respect, because your subconscious mind will be open. And then what happens is you're planting that seed of what you want in your subconscious mind. And we know by law that has to move into form. So you repeat it enough and it has to move into form. I want you to get connected to that. Like, thoughts become things. It has to by law. It doesn't get to reject an idea. And the more we give energy through the principle of autosuggestion to what we want, and we don't entertain what we don't want, we only entertain what we do want, the more energy we put there, the more we fuel the desire, and the faster it moves into form, because what we're doing is we're fusing that energy, right? Fusing ourselves with the goal achieved, and then that's the manifestation. Okay, so let's take some time to visualize. All right, so I'm going to mind the time. I'm going to ask everyone to turn off their videos, uncross their arms and legs, and take a look at what you wrote as far as an emotional future memory that can only be achieved once you've hit that goal. And I'll play some music, and like I said, we'll mind the time. This will be 5 minutes and we'll wrap up. And oh, good question. Are we doing this for Beth? We're going to do it for ourselves first, and then we'll do one for Beth as well. And I know Beth is driving, so it'd be great. We'll find out where she is. So just a moment. So I want you to get yourselves in a really great vibration through this principle of auto-suggesting and seeing yourself with your goal achieved. So uncross your arms and legs. Notice that lavender energy swirling above your head. And as that energy moves down through your conscious mind, through the top of your head, and down into your body. Feel your body relax. So relax your jaw. Relax your shoulders. Shake those arms. Relax. Your legs, your feet. Take a breath in and release. Feel this energy. It's positive, a lavender color energy, and it's relaxing your body. On the screen of your mind now, take yourself to that place with your goal achieved. In your mind's eye, look down and see your own feet. See your hands. If it helps, go to a mirror and look into your eyes and see yourself with that goal achieved. Remember, you only will ever see yourself through your own eyes. Now bring in the people that you want to experience this memory, this idea. Bring them into your mind. Notice what you hear, smell, taste, and touch. Take a breath in and out. Be there now. Notice how it feels. All right, breathe in that good. Notice how you feel. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring yourself back. And we're going to take this energy and feeling that you've created, and we're going to send the love. I want you to really feel your goal achieved. And Beth, are you on the line? Oh, she was driving. So many of you saw my post and the video around Beth and her son. And Beth, if you're able to unmute yourself, I'd love for you to share about Scotty and share maybe a statement if you're there. And if not, we can send love. Okay, so what we'll do now is hold your energy. So for those of you, if you didn't hear, Beth's son is currently healing from an incident that happened over the holidays where he was shot, and he is in recovery mode, and he is a law student. And so what I'd like each of us to do, and what we committed to doing, was to get on the call today and to hold, to send love and prayers and real like positive vibes and health vibes. So I wanted to use today and your feeling right now to get yourself into a vibration that can really serve and help, and to send those positive and healing vibes. I also got messages from many of you in the community that are healers and did some work for Scotty, and I greatly appreciate that effort. So let's do that now. So there's power of us all doing it together. Beth's last name is Probert, and her son is Scotty. So I'd like for you to hold an image of good health and positivity in your mind, and this really good feeling that you have, this feeling of faith, this feeling of the positivity. You can put a name on it, but this feeling that you have after you've visualized for yourself, and this gratitude for life, for this material, it may be for the aspects of your goal that came together. And I want you to see yourself pushing this energy. So just letting it see its flow from you, maybe from your heart, and flowing towards Beth and her son Scotty. Thought energy is the most powerful energy that we have, and it travels, it's instantaneous. So hold the image of Scotty receiving this from our community, and holding him in the image of your mind. Good health. Some of you, this might take the form of prayer. Others, meditation or journeying, visualization. Sending that love, good health, prosperity, faith. Gratitude for this life, his life, the impact he's making, contribution. For Beth, for her family. Sending love. Love that. Lindsay just said, visualize the colors of the rainbow going to him to help heal and send love and compassion. It's great. And as you bring yourself back, I'd like to acknowledge each of you for taking part in that, and to thank you for that positive thought energy, and taking a moment to use your power, your incredible power, to send to Scotty and Beth. So thank you. Okay. Now when you're ready, you can come back and turn on your video. Thank you. That's powerful, isn't it? So I acknowledge all of you that need to go for staying on the webinar today on autosuggestion. Shonda, I love this. I see Beth standing and hugging her son on the steps of a school. Powerful. And for those of you that would like to stay on in conversation around the power of what we just did, perhaps it's around autosuggestion, I'm yours. So let's open the lines and have a discussion about what we've experienced, what you learned today, what your ahas were. And for those that you need to run, that you have another commitment, thank you so much for joining us. I'll be on tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. if you want to do it all over again. Who would like to open the line? Any questions, comments?
Danielle, I have a question.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody else today too who had a similar observation that when we're writing our life script, we're very focused on like the material things that we get when the goal is achieved and that kind of stuff, but maybe there wasn't as much put into the design of the person. So any suggestions on that and how to stay focused on that as opposed to the exterior things? Or do we include those exterior like what's the bigger picture there?
Include it all. It really is. It will feel like I really didn't leave a stone uncovered. So there were definitely material things in there, like certain, because of my self-image and the way that I wanted to dress was very specific around some of the things to get. And then though I was very clear on how it made me feel around confident and service. And it's really, the script is, I also included things like scenarios, so how I respond, and always using positive words. So great example, like because I covered myself as a mom, I talk about how I respond to Eloise. That my part around Eloise is probably, I don't know now because it's recorded, but it would have been a couple pages long. And there's nothing materialistic about that at all. It's my way of beingness with her and how she sees me, the impact I'm having on her. And what's really interesting, actually, now that I share this, is it was just last night or 2 nights ago, Paul said to me, have you noticed how Eloise is talking about you? So she shares about like what I do, and it's like she's never read my script. She's heard me repeating it sometimes, but not the part about her. It's usually she's in the bathroom when I'm doing my shorter version in the mirror, but she repeats like what I've said, but she's never seen it. So it's interesting because, you know, as we use the principle of autosuggestion and we're hearing it so much, we show up like that, right? Because it's got to come to form. And so she's obviously picking up on it. And it's a lot has to do with my work. But in my script, it's more about how I'm being the example for her, which all of you can do through this program. So my answer, Shelley, is our mind will probably go to things because that's the easiest place for us to go because we're so physically programmed to live. And it's our responsibility to bring all the aspects into it. And he even says in lesson 6, it's like a movie, you know, what kind of movie is it? Is it a drama? Is it a whatever? And if you notice, a movie isn't about all the possessions the person has, it's about all the experiences they have. And I didn't write any negative experiences in mine because why that seems like, why would you? But what I did write is I wrote like, you know, that I wrote things like, as things come to us, we respond, and we always operate from the idea that life's happening for us and that our lives just continuously get better and better. And I give examples of that. And I talk about travel, places we travel. Yeah, so mine's very much experience based. And it's also in present tense, and I write it like um you know how in a movie it's they're always like I am doing this, and it's always like the right now unless someone's like remembering a past. But I wrote like 1 year from now, and I write in present tense. 3 months from now, like I skip to the future. It's like the movie went to that place. Yeah, good question. My music was still playing. Anyone else? Does that help, Shelley? Yeah, great.
I had an interesting experience on the weekend, and my boss had taken my son and I skiing. Well, just our kids, and Marley was so wet, and he was soaked by the time they were done, and he was absolutely freezing. And he couldn't wear his coat anymore because he was just so wet and so cold. And we went down to the, so I took my coat off and I gave it to him. And my boss was like, no, you need something to keep you warm. She's like, let's go get him a coat. And I was like, no, like he'll be fine in my coat. It's okay. Like we're just going to the car. Like it's like a 5-minute walk to the car. Like I'll be fine. And she's like, no, like absolutely not. Let's go. And so we couldn't find a coat that would fit him, but she was like, okay, well, we'll just get you a new coat. And she ended up spending $300 on a coat for me. Wow. And I was so grateful, but it was like I want to be more comfortable with money. And so I was just really wondering like how to respond in that kind of situation. Like I didn't want to like put too much emphasis on it because that would like ensue that I'm not that comfortable with money, but at the same time I wanted to like show my appreciation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just thought I'd bring that to you to.
Yeah, I like how you're thinking about it, and remembering that like your ability to receive that gift is the law working as well. So
yeah, and I thought about that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If we like no, or then that's the law of giving is like we need someone to receive. So it's really is important. And oftentimes people can take that away from a person. So I think being, grateful, like you are gracious and showing her in that moment, maybe there's something that you can ask, can you do something? Maybe it's like a thank you card or, after the fact, show your appreciation. And then I would allow yourself to receive it. Often what's missing in this is our ability to receive. So humbly, receive and graciously receive.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's great. It's really great. And that's part of, that's a manifestation in itself is like when that, when we receive that, like only you can know what other thoughts you were holding in your mind to like have that happen. Even, if you're honest, like had you been wanting some like a new coat or something like that, it's interesting. How the mind brings it about.
And I also took it as an opportunity to see how she is with her money. Like she didn't even bat an eye. She didn't look at the price tag. She like it was like nothing to her. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was like it was just like that observation of like how I want to be able to give as well. So
yeah. So that's a really great point, and something that you can be extremely grateful for, the opportunity to learn in that way from the universe, right? So it's the example and that being free, and how can I practice that in my life now? Can I be that free? Whether it's going to a restaurant and never looking at the right side of the menu, making a decision purely on want and desire. And in the long you know, in the grand scheme of things, a dish that is $10 more than another is not going to change a whole lot, right? So making your decisions purely from desire and practicing what you noticed, the like how she behaved, practice that small now, and perhaps with Marley as well, right? As you were sharing that example, I thought of something else, and it's a very simple example, but of creating the desire and sort of letting it go. And why I said, you know, you may have had a desire for something like new, or maybe it was a desire to experience how someone else spends their money. Like, I'm not sure, but if you think about that, you might be able to connect the dots, and that's fun to connect the dots. I find, and I just did that last night. I received a box, an order that I had placed for product, my skincare products, and I noticed in the car when I was riding the car yesterday morning taking Elle to school that my hand cream that's normally there was no longer there, and my hands are really dry and cold and cracked. And so I made a comment like to Paul, like, do we know where the hand cream is? Because like that's a thing, I keep it in the car. And he's like, oh, my mom took it when she was on her way to the airport. I said, oh, interesting. And I thought, gosh, I really need a hand cream. And I just put that in order in. So that means that I'm going to have to order on the next time. It's going to be like weeks before I get my hand cream. Well, my box arrived yesterday. I open it up and there's a letter from the company because there was an item on back order and because it took longer, and I got a free hand cream. Paul's like, woo, who manifested that one? Such a simple thing, right? But it's like, I love that kind of the evidence. Like if we put out our desires, you know, and it's important to like recognize a desire. Oh, I want another da-da-da. Okay, well, and you can let it go. Cool. Simple. As easy as manifesting a parking spot or ice cream. Thanks, Deb. You're good.
I just wanted to say real quick, Shonda, thank you for mentioning that, because it didn't even dawn on me. In the self-image, I write a lot about how I give to others, but I've never written how I receive, because if you get when you get into that next like monetary bracket where you're with millionaires or whatever your goal is, right, then those gifts are not going to be, you know, a Walmart $25 gift card anymore. They're going to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars bottle of wine potentially or something. So how are you in that space? So thank you, Shonda, for asking that, because now it makes me think, ooh, I need to put that in my self-image, because that will come. And if I'm not confident and you know, I usually push away. I'm like, oh, no, you know what, you keep it. Or, you know, are you sure that Sarah doesn't want it? Or I will push away. So good. That was a good realization. Thanks, Shonda.
I think that's a really good point to actually look at and to include in the self-image script. And you know who has a great book on receiving is Abraham Hicks. Who has read it?
I've read it. It's awesome.
What's it
Ask
called?
and receive.
Ask, ask and it's given, or ask and receive?
I think it's called Ask and It Is Given.
It is given. Yeah, it's incredible. I highly recommend it. And she talks about why that receiving energy is so important. You know, yeah, there we go. Nice one, Nora. See how a lot of this like is it can fit into your self-image script. So something that you recognize, just like you get to add it. You know, something that you recognize that a way of being that gets you closer to your goal, just add it. Because the power of the auto suggestion for it to go, and then you just are becoming that. And this is the thing, like it's using that power of suggestion to then like also work in harmony with the law of transmutation of energy. Powerful.
Danielle?
Yeah.
Can I just add in there, like when I was doing the different lessons, I sort of chose out of each lesson something that resonated with me, and I added that into my self-image. I remember one being a creative visionary. I heard that in one of them, and I thought, oh, I want to be a creative visionary. And then I expanded on what that looked like, because in my mind, if I'm a creative visionary, I'm like a master manifester, right? Or whatever you want to call it. But, so I sort of looked at each one, like at the end of lesson 12, I think Sandy talks about service, and I added something in about that. And so I kind of grabbed some things because I was having a hard time thinking. I knew it was I am statements too and experience statements, but to bring them all together, that really helped me, just picking out one or two things from each lesson that resonated with me.
I love that. That's such a good idea. Really great way to apply the lessons to your life, right? And you could even switch those up, so when you go through TIR again the second time, that's the thing, the self-image script's always evolving. I probably personally don't evolve it as much as what I could.
You know what else I just thought about was that, I actually wrote it down. I did the self-image script and I recorded it. And when I listened to it, I thought, OMG, this is brutal. Like, it's like my energy is way down here. And I could even tell by the way I was talking. And so I did it again. And then I love the difference. But like, our vision dictates everything, but our energy dictates everything. So that vision meant nothing without the energy behind it. And it's a really good thing to try, for everybody to try. If you listen and you're going, I listened to mine, I could not believe how low I was. And it was like monotone, and it was like, I don't know when I recorded it, but I thought, I have to get this off my phone. So I did record it. It's going to be recorded again and again and again, because I'm learning how to raise my vibration, but there has to be that energy behind that vision.
Yeah, that's so important. That is it's that again goes back to the emotion, right? So it's like the repetition with the emotion, like he says, and the energy is that emotion. That's how you know your feeling is that emotion. Yeah, Kaylee.
I've already re-recorded my script twice since starting the 90-day challenge. My paradigm, I guess, was telling me to not record it the first time when I did lesson 6. And I actually just spent about a month and a half in lesson 6, which was also my paradigm. And so I've recorded it twice already. And listening to the first one, I was like, no, there's still things that don't resonate. And so I listened to my new one yesterday, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely getting there, but I feel like I'll probably record it like every week, or just as I add things or work on it. I just feel like it's, as things change, it might change too.
Totally. One thing that I noticed for me, that after I, like if something happens where I'm super pumped, or and you can create this energy at any point, but what I noticed, Bob always tells us, when we experience a win, like to go out and do something in that energy. So when you experience a win, like a great time to record your script is to go record your script in that energy, like do something so that you can capture it. It's like almost bottling it up. I realized, in recording the podcast, which, wow, because I listened to the first couple, and like the same thing, like Wendy, like you can really notice, and if they can't see you, it's like the sound. I just had to keep jumping. Like I was even pausing and then jumping just to keep the vibration and keep myself out of my own head. So if you notice yourself, even when you're recording the script, that you keep going back into like questioning it, you want to push yourself, the energy out, so that you stay high. Does that make sense? You don't get caught up in that intellectual like nonsense of judging yourself, because that's really what's happening. But for me, when I really got in the center of that when I was doing the podcast, because I was in my head a lot. The jumping works wonders, let me tell you. It really does. I would also experiment with that too, like what else works for you. Music helps a lot of people, like a certain song? Water, nature. I noticed that it's a different energy though, those some of the other things that are on the list, whereas jumping is like it feels like a higher vibe. I almost feel my body vibrating. So the reason why Tony Robbins is like, you know. Yeah, good. Cool. Anyone else before we wrap? Experience or question? All right. So we all know the importance of autosuggestion and why it's such a key component. The third step towards riches. The third step. And there's a reason why I believe it's such like an in-depth chapter. And if I look at all my chapters in my book, autosuggestion is one of the ones that has the most notes in it, the most highlighted, because he really does go into detail about like the how, the practical stuff. Another one that is really marked up is persistence. But if you haven't read it in a while, I recommend you go back to it, especially as we're in the challenge, because that understanding and knowledge really, for me, helps me stay persistent. When my mind can say, oh, it doesn't really matter. No, it really does. So thank you so much for joining today. Thank you for being part of the community and for being in the visualization. That was really powerful. Love that. All right. Well, expect abundance, and we'll see you tomorrow if you're joining bright and early. Okay. See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time, Danielle.
Thank you.